Well, for the first time since leaving office, Ron Paul has returned to the spotlight today. Now, RT's Megan Lopez joined me earlier to talk about Paul's new institute, a think tank aimed at peace and prosperity. They're attempting to change more than just politics here. Take a listen.
Well, it is an institute that is going to do exactly what its title suggests. It's going to promote peace and prosperity, and the ways that they're going to do that is through non-interventionism and also pushing a more comprehensive foreign policy agenda. Now, these ideas are not necessarily new to Ron Paul. They're very new to some of the newer generations that are supporting him. These are the same ideals that Ron Paul has been saying for decades and decades. So I actually went and asked him, if he wasn't able to accomplish these goals of no war, non-interventionism, and a more comprehensive foreign policy right now, if he wasn't able to accomplish that in all of his decades on the Hill, then why is he trying to push this now? And also, how is he changing his tactics? So let's take a look at what he had to say to that.
Sure.
It really isn't as different as it may seem, because when I was on the inside, I was really on the outside. I was not what the leadership called a team player. And I was always talking to somebody outside with the whole idea of reaching people. But I thought, in a way, there was a little bit more political success than I ever dreamed. Take, for instance, the Federal Reserve. I went to the outside and we lobbied the people to lobby their congressmen and taught them what was wrong with the Fed. And it really came to life when we had the financial crisis. So I didn't do that as an insider because I had no political clout. I had nothing to offer. I couldn't trade votes and that sort of thing.
Now, Congressman Paul followed that by saying that to him, the bigger job isn't trying to influence Congress members, it's trying to influence and actually start a groundswell from the outside, because it is the people, not the politicians, that make these movements count. And also, he said that he wants to balance his fundamentals with his constituents and also what he had represented in Congress. And that's something that he doesn't have to deal with anymore. He doesn't have to play the game of politics in Congress. Now he can completely 100% push his ideals.
Okay, so Megan, these lofty ideas of peace and prosperity, how are they going to accomplish this?
There are a lot of different ideas that they are working on right now. The first thing that they have going on is they just started an education curriculum for homeschool education that is going to focus on peace, prosperity, and also the future in terms of what they want to see, non-interventionism and also foreign policy. So they are focusing on that. They've got a website that is up and running for that, as well as another website that is up and running. They are planning on doing a curriculum kind of thing, and also an index talking about how exactly they are going to rank each Congress member and continue on to talk about these peace policies and how they're going to push that forward. Now, one of the people that was really in support of Ron Paul is Congressman Dennis Kucinich. He's one of the major players in the Ron Paul Institute for Peace and Prosperity, and him and his wife are both on the board of advisors for this institute, and they talked about the importance of the idea of auditing the Fed and how that plays into non-interventionism. If we can listen to Dennis Kucinich.
Sure.
America has spent will spend maybe up to $5 trillion for these wars that were based on lies. And at the same time, deficits go up, more people unemployed. So war and poverty seem to go together, and peace and prosperity comes together, which is why I'm so happy to be part of this effort and continue the work outside the Congress that Ron and I work together to create inside the Congress.
So, Margaret, you hear him talking about the economics of this. You hear him talking about how money and war, peace and prosperity are often tied with one another. And that is something that he says that we can actually start to prevent war and speak against war by auditing the Fed and doing things like that.
Okay, so a lot of really lofty goals here, Megan. Talk to me about how this institution is different from other think tanks out there.
There are a lot of things that they say that they are working on. They are not only going to be putting out columns and analysis and things like that, but as I mentioned, they're also going to be doing this index, ranking people on their peace. Now, Congressman Paul obviously has a lot of current and former lawmakers that are supporting his cause. Representative John Duncan and Judge Andrew Napolitano are among the board of advisors, along with Congressman Walter Jones. And he is one of the people that was at this ceremony today that was one of the most vocal proponents of this type of institute. And I want you to listen to what he has to say because it was very powerful and it really got the room riled up.
Take a listen.
I am the only one at this table who made a horrible mistake and voted to send our young men and women to die in Iraq. I will go to my grave regretting that vote. The reason that this Ron Paul Institute is critical is because I do not know where the conscience is in Washington anymore. With Dennis leaving and Ron running for the presidency and Jimmy and myself and just a few others, war is something that is just accepted but never debated. It's your son that's dying, not my son. This institute is critical.
Okay, so you mentioned non-interventionism and the Fed earlier. How does the Fed play into this, Megan?
The Fed plays into it in a lot of ways. As I was talking about, the money really plays into it. And all three of these men that we've heard from today, all of the other congressmen that really spoke at this event today, have one thing that they wanted to get out. And it's not only peace and prosperity, it's getting back to the Constitution. They want to have the president limited powers when it comes to being able to wage war.
Megan, we have to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining me in studio, Megan Lopez.